Imagine for a moment that you, a perfectly ordinary person, are sitting quietly when suddenly you feel that familiar tickle in your nose. You know what's coming. You're about to sneeze. But instead of a normal sneeze, your body releases one at the impossible speed of light. A sneeze so fast, so violent, that the very laws of physics shudder at the thought. What would happen if your sneeze traveled at 300,000 kilometers per second? The first thing to understand is that nothing with mass can actually move at the speed of light. But if we suspend physics for a moment and let your sneeze break the rules, then you are about to unleash the most destructive nasal event in the history of the universe. Normally, a sneeze leaves your body at around 160 kilometers per hour. That's enough to spread droplets across a room, to send germs flying, to make your friends and coworkers leap away in horror. But a sneeze at light speed is about 6.7 million times faster than that. At that speed, the air, moisture, and particles your nose ejects wouldn't just leave your body. They would transform into a wave of pure energy. Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared tells us that even the tiniest bit of mass, when pushed to the speed of light, carries an unimaginable amount of energy. If just 1 gram of sneeze material were accelerated to light speed, it would release as much energy as a nuclear bomb. So your sneeze, something people usually dismiss as inconvenient or even comical, would instantly become a weapon of apocalyptic proportions. The force of this sneeze would annihilate everything in its path. The molecules of air in front of you wouldn't even have time to move out of the way. They'd be vaporized in an explosion of plasma. The shockwave would expand outward at nearly unimaginable force, flattening buildings, splitting the ground, and reducing entire city blocks into dust. And that's just the beginning. Because this sneeze isn't slowing down. Light speed is absolute, so once released, your sneeze keeps going. In less than 1 second, it would travel around the Earth more than 7 times. Your sneeze, filled with microscopic particles and now carrying nuclear-level energy, would carve through the atmosphere like a laser beam. Airplanes unlucky enough to be in the way would be shredded. Satellites in orbit might be struck as the beam scatters and refracts, sending shards of deadly energy shooting off in all directions. Within seconds, millions of lives could be affected by what began as a tickle in your nose. But wait, let's think bigger. That sneeze wouldn't stop at Earth. After ricocheting through the atmosphere and punching through satellites, it would continue outward, leaving Earth behind entirely. In just over a second, your sneeze would pass the moon. In 8 minutes, it would streak past the orbit of Mercury and reach the sun. And here's the terrifying part. If even a fragment of sneeze material struck the sun at light speed, the energy could destabilize its outer layers, creating solar flares and eruptions larger than anything humanity has ever recorded. The Earth, already devastated by the initial sneeze, could then be fried by a cascade of solar chaos triggered by the very same sneeze. Let's zoom out even further. In just over 4 years, your sneeze would reach Proxima Centauri, the nearest star. Your sneeze, which began in a living room, a classroom, or an office, could someday strike an alien world with a force that could flatten an entire civilization before they even knew what sneezing was. But before we get too far, let's consider what would actually happen to you, the poor sneezer. Human biology is not designed to handle forces even remotely close to this. When you sneeze at normal speed, the air pressure inside your chest spikes, your diaphragm contracts, and the air blasts out of your nose and mouth. At light speed, the moment you begin to sneeze, the recoil would tear your head clean off your body. Your skull would be obliterated by the equal and opposite reaction of accelerating mass to light speed. The burst of energy inside your nasal cavity would vaporize the tissues of your face before the sneeze even had a chance to leave your nose. In other words, you wouldn't survive long enough to see the destruction you caused. The sneeze would go on, but you'd be reduced to particles in a fraction of a second. If we keep imagining, though, the energy released would likely be so massive that the very atmosphere around you could ignite. A fireball would expand outward, much like the detonation of a nuclear warhead, and anyone within kilometers would be vaporized instantly. The Earth's magnetic field might even be disturbed by the sudden burst, causing auroras to ripple across the sky in bizarre colors. And yet, for all its horror, the idea of sneezing at light speed also reveals something beautiful. It shows how even the smallest, most mundane parts of our daily lives, like sneezing, are tied to the immense power of physics. Your body, your breath, your cells, they all contain tiny amounts of mass that, when converted into energy, could shake the universe itself. It's humbling to realize how fragile the balance is, how the ordinary can become extraordinary if the laws of nature are just slightly rewritten. Of course, this scenario is purely hypothetical. The speed of light is not just fast, it is a universal speed limit. No matter how powerful the sneeze, no matter how irritated your nose, your body could never launch particles anywhere near that fast. But imagining it gives us a glimpse into the sheer magnitude of what light speed really means. It's not just fast, it's catastrophic, it's cosmic, it's beyond comprehension. So if the next time you sneeze, maybe you'll think about it differently. Maybe you'll marvel at the fact that what you just did was a tiny, safe release of energy, not the birth of a world-ending catastrophe. A sneeze may seem insignificant, but in the grand dance of the universe, even the tiniest tickle of your nose contains a shadow of cosmic power. If sneezing at light speed were possible, it would mean that every one of us carries within us the potential to destroy worlds. Luckily for all of us, physics has rules, and those rules are the only things standing between your seasonal allergies and the extinction of civilization. So bless you, humanity. And thank the universe that your sneeze will never, ever travel at the speed of light.